Welcome back to another video on the channel. I've been a little bit quiet recently on the YouTube front, but I've been away on holiday and also on holiday visiting my brother down in Bristol, so I will be producing lots more videos now I'm back home. And obviously the US Open starts in a couple of weeks, which I can't wait for. I already started making me notes for me previews that will be out a few days before the event start. But today I'm just going to be answering a few questions from Twitter. Kicking things off with a few questions from Dom. The first being, who is the best prospect in men's and women's tennis? This is quite a difficult one, and I want to stay away from that next gen group and just name one of Zverev, Medvedev or Tsitsipas. I'm actually going to go with Yannick Sinner, who I think has had a very good year. 17, 18-year-old Italian, seems to go on all surfaces. Very good all-round player, very quick. Obviously won the next gen finals last year in Italy, and I think a player with a huge future doesn't really seem to get talked about yet. We focus on the likes of Tsitsipas and Zverev, as I say, in Grand Slams, but wouldn't surprise me if Sinner sort of surpassed them all very quickly and really cemented his place in the top 16 very soon. As I say, still a teenager, but seems to have bags of talent, confidence, and has already claimed some massive wins in his career. On the women's side, you obviously got to look at Coco Gauff. I mean, she'd be the obvious one. That were fantastic run at Wimbledon, followed up by the fantastic run at the US Open and the Australian Open. She's a player that's got an unbelievable amount of talent at an early age, and the world's a oyster really. She can go as far as she wants. She's under the guidance of Patrick Mitroglou as well, being her academy, coached by her father, and I think Coco is definitely the number one woman to sort of lead women's tennis in the future. But also Leylah Fernandez, I think, is a fantastic young talent. I mean, she reached the final of Acapulco this year before losing to Heather Watson. She's just one of the part of the crop of the Canadian proteges that have came through in the last few years. You look at Sebov, Raonic, Shapovalov, Borja Aliassime, Fernandez, Bouchard. There's a lot of Canadians come through in the game, which is great to see, and she's another one. Returned yesterday with a fantastic straight set win over former Grand Slam champion Sloane Stephens, which just showed how good Fernandez is playing, how confident she is, and how well she's playing. To beat a player like Stephens at age is very impressive. So I would go with Leylah Fernandez and Yannick Sinner. Moving on to question 2, barring Serena and Venus, which current Grand Slam winner do you think will win the most slams? Immediately look at the likes of Muguruza, Simona Halep, Naomi Osaka, Bianca Andreescu, Ostapenko, who's fell away unfortunately, but I think the safe option is probably Halep, which is one of the older Grand Slam champions that are not Serena and Venus. So I think I'd probably go with Bianca Andreescu. I think she's a player capable of really dominating. I was so impressed by her win last year in US Open. She will get a chance to follow it up this year. She has been declared for the event. Unfortunately suffered an injury following that US Open win, but didn't obviously miss much tennis with the break that we had. She did miss the Australian Open, but I was so impressed by Andreescu, and I think she's a player that can go very far in a career and win a lot of Grand Slams. And also I missed out Sophia Kenin there, and I've talked a lot of times in this channel about how impressed I was with her mentally, coming through difficult situations, beating the likes of Ash Barty on the Australian Open, beating Garbine Muguruza, who was a lot more experienced in finals and had winning experience, to top all them two at the age that she was, being massive underdog in both matches. Got to give Kenin huge credit for that, and I do make her one of the favourites for that US Open event. So that's a difficult question. You've got Naomi Osaka, who could bounce back. You've got Petra Kvitova, as I say, Simona Halep. There's a lot of players in and around like Kiki Bertens, Pliskova, who haven't won Grand Slam yet, but if they win one, they could win 2 or 3 or 4. It often happens in women's tennis where you win one and get that confidence, get that breakthrough win, then you seem to carry on and use that confidence and experience to good effect and win 1 or 2 more. The final question from Dom was, why haven't David Goffin or Kei Nishikori not won a slam yet? This is a great question. I think the two fantastic players who are capable of beating almost anybody in the world over 3 sets. There's not a lot wrong with either game. Both hit the ball very cleanly, both move around the court very well. And they've got all the shots in the book. That's why they're challenging the top 10 in one of the hardest areas of men's tennis ever. Obviously, Nishikori did make that final a few years back at the US Open before losing to Marin Cilic. Goffin hasn't got that far just yet, but still a fantastic player. And I think the biggest reason for me is why they haven't won a slam is they haven't got a sort of match-winning shot. And you could argue for Nishikori's double-handed backhand is, it's a wonderful backhand, but when you look at Djokovic, he's got the double-handed backhand down the line. You look at Nadal, he's got that massive forehand. Del Potro got the massive forehand. Team's got the backhand, and there's always one shot, I think, for the champions that can really win them a match. They can really find it in the big moments of matches that can just sort of turn the match in their favour. And I'm not sure Goffin and Nishikori have got that real massive weapon that can really hurt the best opponents. The likes of Djokovic and Nadal and team can, rally, defend, and just wear you down. And I just don't think Goffin and Nishikori have got that sort of finishing shot in a rally that they can use consistently to hurt the opponents. As I say, that both fantastic players, and if a Djokovic and Nadal was to get injured, it would offer them a chance to come through and perhaps win a slam. But for me, the top players are just more consistent and just better all round, and they've also got their added weapons that can just take the match away from you very quickly. If Rafa gets onto his forehand and reels off a few winners, then that's the difference between winning and losing a set. And the likes of Rafa and Djokovic and Federer and team have got their weapons in their armour, and they produce it in the biggest stages, which is why they win slams. So moving on to a couple of questions from Kevin. Who would be the two tennis players, male and female, who you'd like to interview for your channel? This is an interesting one. The male, I'm definitely going to go with Andy Murray. I think he's been a fantastic flag bearer for British tennis, and as a person that likes to try and help improve British tennis and give our low ranked players more exposure, and get more people following our low ranked British players and attending UK events, I would like to talk to Andy about how he's done that over the years. Obviously, a massive part of that is winning Wimbledon twice and winning 2 Olympic gold medals and winning the US Open. But he's also done so much more for that, raising money for charity and taking on players of his own. He works hard and trains the likes of Paul Jubb, gives them experience, and I'm sure he gives them tips along the way. But yeah, he's been a fantastic flag bearer for British tennis, and it's important that Britain does have the next generation to carry the throne when he does eventually retire. We don't want Andy Murray to retire and everyone to forget about British tennis. We need someone to carry that on. We've got the likes of Jack Draper, Jay Clark, Ryan Peniston, Paul Jubb coming through, and we need our players to keep improving, keep enjoying playing tennis, and keep winning events on the ATP tour, as we do on the WTA. And obviously, all as well about Murray, I just like to talk about that Wimbledon, the Wimbledon title wins, the US Open, the Olympic gold medals, and also pick his brain on how he sort of overcame that Federer defeat at Wimbledon. He went in that match, and I think everybody expected him to beat what was an aging Federer at the time. In that interview, that nobody will ever forget, when Murray cried, and I think he wondered whether he was ever going to win one, whether he was just going to get outdone in the final every time, and just talking about how he sort of came back from that mentally more than anything to believe in himself again, and believed him to beat a Djokovic who was in the form of his life and the best player in the world at the time. Just talking to Murray about sort of how he done that, and also the Olympic gold medals, the Davis Cup wins. And yeah, for Murray, I think it'd be a player I would talk to for a long time about British tennis. So if anyone can arrange it, please do. And also moving on to which female player would I like to interview for the channel. Probably Serena Williams, for the same reasons. Talk to her about the Grand Slam wins, how she's kept that motivation for the sport over the past 20-25 years. Also talked about that competitive streak that she has with her sister, whether she thinks that's pushed on her career, having to battle against her sister as well as all the other female opponents. And also talked about what she's done for tennis, and the fact that she's inspired many people to pick up a tennis racket. Every young player I sort of speak to, particularly girls, always mention the Williams sisters and how they've sort of inspired and carried women's tennis. And they've done massive things for American sport. Black people in America have sort of watched Venus and Serena dominate women's tennis over the past 20 years, and they've inspired many people to not just pick up a tennis racket, but just to be successful in life and successful in sport and chase their dreams. And the two unbelievable athletes, unbelievable people on and off court, and they're saying the work they've done for black people in sport and black people in America. I think they've done amazing things. And yeah, Serena always seems to be brilliant when she's interviewed off court talking about her tennis. And I'd love to talk about how she's kept herself motivated for all those years, and just how much she's got left. And finally, from Kevin, another question is, who is your favourite WTA and ATP player? I think the male one's pretty obvious. It's Djokovic. And why? Kevin also asked, and I saw Djokovic win his very first Australian Open, and I was around 10 at the time, and I just sort of fell in love with his game style. It was the first Grand Slam tournament that I really watched throughout, and I remember sitting up late, being in the UK, watching the final, and just his game style was so entertaining to watch. His defence sort of mesmerising, the flexibility and the speed he had around the court just struck me straight away, but also the emotion and the fight, and you can see how much it means to him on the court, just sort of got me straight away. And at that time, obviously, Djokovic wasn't a Grand Slam champion, so I don't think he was the underdog going to that match against Tsonga, but it was his first Grand Slam title, and I've just followed him ever since then. I've just started watching his matches. Now I watch all of his matches, and I've supported him throughout his career. He's my favourite sportsman ever, and I'm sure it'll be very tough to stop. I'm looking to have some signed stuff by Djokovic, and I do hope to see him play live. I was planning to go to this year's Roland Garros to see him play live, and I am planning to go to this year's ATP Tour Finals in London, obviously if they go ahead. And then, if not next year, I'll definitely go to Roland Garros if that goes ahead, but I'm sure I will see Djokovic play live at some point. But yeah, about Djokovic, I mean, his style of tennis is just brilliant to watch. It's my ideal style of tennis to watch. His defence, his flexibility, and also the way he involves the crowd, the emotion, and he's achieving greatness, and that's a great sort of journey to follow. He's a player that I do admire on and off court, and I hope he does become the GOAT of tennis and reach the top of the all-time Grand Slam list. And it's been a fantastic race, and I don't think I would have liked Djokovic as much if it wasn't for the likes of Nadal and Murray and Federer and Wawrinka, because it sort of made that every event more gripping. Every Grand Slam is massive in the title race, and it just makes them more and more enjoyable, to a point where you get so nervous watching. But yeah, Djokovic is my favourite ATP player. WTA, it's difficult. At the top of the rankings, I'm looking at the likes of Simona Halep. I admire Halep in the fact that she's very short, but what she lacks in sort of height and strength, she makes up for, and in heart and defence and counter punching, and she's just a fantastic player. She sort of defies belief sometimes, the shot she plays for the size of the woman that she is. Got a great heart. She's fought back many times in her career, and I felt a few years ago I was just watching women's tennis and enjoying the matches. I wasn't particularly supporting any player, but the more you watch Halep lose in semi-finals and finals, the more you sort of wanted to win, and she sort of became the underdog, and everybody wanted just Halep to win a Grand Slam. And when she done that at the French Open, followed up with the Wimbledon, it was fantastic to see, and I probably would say she's my favourite player to watch on the WTA. Thoroughly entertaining, but there's so many entertaining young players. I'm also massive fans, being British, of the likes of Jodie Burrage and Emma Raducanu. In lockdown, Britain's had many brilliant events, and I've thoroughly enjoyed watching those two play singles. Two players that I'm very excited for the future for, both very young and climbing the rankings, winning matches consistently, playing well. And away from them to obviously the likes of Coco Gauff, players that you can just see are going to carry the torch for women's tennis and sort of inspire that next generation once the likes of Serena and Venus depart. And we need players at that. But I think the women's tennis game is in a fantastic position when you look at the likes of Andreescu and Kennan and Osaka, Leila Fernandez, who I talked about earlier, Coco Gauff. There's handfuls of talented young players and Americans coming through that are going to be fantastic and set up classic matches and classic Grand Slams. But if I was to go, my favourite two players would be Djokovic and Halep. but there's many players I enjoy watching on the tour. That's all for today. I will be back very soon with more videos as the tour resumes. There's tournaments this week on the WTA in Prague and Lexington in America, so I'll probably do a video or two reviewing them once they're over, and then the US Open will be here before we know it, followed by the French Open, so it'll be a busy couple of months on the channel. But in the meantime, thanks for watching this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.